if you're happy and you know it. So this month, we're working with the talks around the emotions that we have and how our emotions play out in our lives. We are working through the yearly theme of living everyday wonder and looking to see where we can find the wonder and the joy and the awe in these different areas of our lives. And so our emotional life is one that often can have us experience the wonder and the joy and the awe of life, and it can also have us experience those things that are other than that. We're working with the principle today of, from our Declaration of Principles. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, created this Declaration of Principles. People asked him, "What do I believe?" And so he wrote this. When he wrote it originally, it was, "I believe." And we've later converted it to "we believe." And there's something really powerful about saying it both ways. We, meaning our entire movement, but I, meaning this is what I believe individually. This is what I believe to be the truth in this situation. And so he wrote, "We believe the ultimate goal of life is to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. A complete freedom of discord of every nature, and this goal is sure to be attained by all." I think that speaks right back to the situation I was just describing. If we honestly believe that we can be free of discord and that everyone can attain it, are we doing what we need to do to bring that about in our lives and in the lives of the world around us? We talk about creating the world that works for everyone and all of creation, but what am I doing individually to create that world that works for everyone? Where is my individual personal responsibility in this situation? When we talk about growth in the stages of consciousness, moving from the first stage of consciousness, which is the victim stage, where we feel that things are being done to us, to move to the second stage of consciousness, which is the manifestor consciousness, where I can actually control things and I can actually change my life. The thing that we have to do to move from one stage to the next is to take personal responsibility. And so where's my personal responsibility in creating a world that works for everyone? If the world isn't working for everyone, if I feel like there's people being victimized or I see it, evidence of it, what's my personal responsibility in moving towards that world that works for everyone and all of creation? Each one of us is given an opportunity at every moment to be that change. You know, as Mahatma Gandhi said, to be the change we want to see in the world. How do we begin to do that? You know, one of the things that Ernest said early on is that we need to actually begin to have more childlike joy in our lives. He wrote it this way in, to make sure it changed there. He wrote it this way in a book called Help for Today. "We should rediscover the youthful spirit of that childlike joy which gave us energy, happiness, security, and faith as we had as children." We should rediscover that youthful spirit and childlike joy. You know, the title is "If You're Happy and You Know It." I asked Justin early on, about, 6-7 weeks ago, I said, "Do you want to do that song?" He said, "No." I totally agreed with that, you know. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. You know, I'm one of those people whose face shows it. I could never go to the casino and play poker. There's absolutely no way. My face shows pretty much every expression I've ever had on it. I've had people tell me that, I need to learn to couch that because people are seeing it. Because, sometimes my expressions are happy and joyful and sometimes they're not. So I have this face that shows all of these expressions at all the time. But there's something wonderful about that because not only is my face showing the expression, but there's an energy in my body. That childlike, joy-like energy that Ernest spoke about, it's actually showing on my face. It's actually moving through my body when I'm feeling it. We were at our community conversation yesterday. Thank you, all of those of you that showed up at that. That was so nice to be back together with people doing spiritual work in a group like that. It really was. We truly have missed that for the last couple of years. But somebody remarked in the middle of the meeting, look at that smile on her face. And I was like, I'm just full of it. And in lots of ways, I'm just really full of it because I was filled with that joy. It was so good to be back there with people doing this kind of work, just having a discussion. We were just sitting around chatting, sitting in a circle, having a discussion about what's up for us as a community. And so developing that childlike joy, there is something that's inherent when we sing songs like If You're Happy and You Know It. It's hard not to be happy when you're singing that. I think this is one of the most magical things that Disney ever did was create songs for children in video. To link a video animation with music was genius. Because look at how, I can't listen to a Disney movie and not be filled with joy. This weekend I was watching Encanto, which is one of their latest movies out. Encanto is a house in Mexico. That Encanto means charmed house. In Mexico, it's full of magic. And so just listening to that and the songs that were going on in there, I spent 2 hours just absolutely grinning from ear to ear because I was having fun. I think this is one of the things that we can begin to develop in our lives is this childlike joy. Bring that back in more ways. If it happens through music, wonderful. If it happens when you're outside in nature doing something that you really enjoy doing, it's fabulous. When we can bring it into our daily lives on a greater and greater experience, I think that is something that is really palpable and really powerful in our lives to be able to help change our lives. Now, happiness is not always about bringing something in, too. There's this happiness that has to come from within us, outward. There's this internalized happiness that really actually needs to be there. Or at least, if it's not there, you're doing what they call faking it till you make it, which is one of those things about the smile that I have on my face. I unfortunately cannot smile when I'm not happy, but when I am happy, it really kind of amplifies things and builds it up. I was recently doing some voiceovers for some little 45-second clips that I had done, and all I wanted was my voice. I didn't want video of me doing it. And so I was doing this, and I was telling my friend about it. I said, they're just kind of flat. I don't understand what's wrong with it. And my friend is a 40-year musician. She's been a musician for 40 years and done thousands and thousands of different kinds of recordings. And she said to me, smile when you're speaking. Because nobody else is going to see it, but listen to how it changes your voice. And so just by putting that smile on, the voiceover that I was doing became alive. And so it was just this simple act of knowing what was inside of me and bringing it forth, whether I felt like it or not. It felt kind of silly at first to be smiling when I wasn't, laughing at something or having a good time. I was fine with it. It wasn't a bad time, but it was kind of hard to force that smile. And I'm like, oh my goodness, listen to how my voice changes when I speak when I'm smiling versus when I'm not. And it was quite an enlightening thing for me to see that. So, this happiness comes from within. We can't rely on other people to bring happiness into our lives. How many of us have ever had that thought, oh, if I just get this, then I'll be happy. If this just happens in my life, then everything's going to work out. I think we do that with relationships, with jobs, with opportunities and things like that. If this just happens, then I'll be happy. And how many of you have ever had good results with that? Of waiting till that thing happened, right? I think we spend a lot of time just sitting around waiting for it and not letting it actually happen. So we actually have to begin to bring it out within us, from within. And it's not about the things that we have. It's not about bringing more material things into our lives or acquiring that new car or that new home or that new job or whatever it is. Those things we may seem like we're happier now that we have them, but what we need to do is begin to look at what's the feeling behind it. I do this when I teach treatment work. People say, well, they want something in their lives, and so they want to write a prayer for this thing to come into their lives. And I said, well, what is it you want to experience when you get that? So if you say you're treating for a new car, you need a new car. Your car's on the fritz and it's time for a new car, and so you need a new car and you want to treat for that. And so you could say, well, I want a blue car, 4 doors, air conditioning, power steering, and I could list all of those things. And I may get exactly that, but I may never be really satisfied with it. I could be, but I may not be satisfied with it. But if I treat for a car that's going to provide me with a sense of freedom, because now I don't have to worry about it breaking down, or I can get in it and go wherever I want. Or if I get a car that provides me with a sense of safety, because now I'm not going to be stranded on the road. Or, it's a nice heavy-duty car, so I'm not going to worry about being in an accident too much. And those kind of things. If we begin to treat for those, that car can show up as that blue 4-door car, or it could show up as a new SUV, or it could show up as a Volkswagen Bug. You don't know, but it's going to fill those feeling needs within you that you've been treating for. And so if we look at the feeling behind it, instead of focusing so much on what the thing is, I think we have a greater experience whenever we do get the thing that we're looking for in our lives. And so it's something that has to come from within us. And so if we look at those feelings, what is the feeling within me that's wanting to be satisfied here? And if I look at that and begin to do my spiritual work around that, then I think I'm going to have a greater experience of it. This idea of happiness, just like I was saying earlier on, it all begins with us. We have a song that we've sung in Centers for Spiritual Living, and prior to that, religious science churches for at least 70 years now. And the song is, "Let there be peace on earth." And the following line is, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me." And so I think that's the key word for pretty much anything that we want in our life. Let it begin with me. This is something that I need to be doing. I need to be focusing on it. Ernest Holmes said early on, change your thinking, change your life. If I want to have a different experience in my life, I'm the one that has to change how I'm thinking about it. And so as I change that, then my experience can shift too. But if I'm looking for somebody else to do it for me, not going to happen too well. And so again, let it begin with me. Let this come forth from within me. And how do we do that? How do I actually begin to let that come forth from within me? Well, it goes back to what I think I talk about pretty much every week. It goes back to our spiritual practices that we do. What spiritual practices are you doing that allow you to see what is wanting to come forth from within you? What is wanting to begin with you? What spiritual practices are you doing that are going to enhance this experience of happiness in our lives? Which kind of spiritual practices are really good for that? There are lots of them out there that we can use. One of my favorite ones is gratitude, the spiritual practice of gratitude, to being grateful every day for everything that comes into our lives. Even the things that we think we may not have wanted, look for the gratitude within those. And there's so many ways of doing gratitude practices. We have the journaling, we have the gratitude box, we have just what I do at night is I lay down and I list the gratitudes that I feel for that day. I list the things that I am grateful for. And I always try to include one thing that was a challenge for me that day and find the gratitude that I have for the experience of that challenge on each daily basis. And then that allows me to look at it in a different way, to experience that challenging situation in a way that is more uplifting, that I can actually see the good in it. And that helps a lot. Years ago, I read this book called The Gentle Art of Blessing by Pierre, I never can remember his name. What's it? Prouder, that's it, thank you. Wonderful book. And it's about doing blessings as you move throughout your day. The first time I tried it, I'd gotten about a third of the way through reading the book, and I was driving from St. George, Utah, back here to Las Vegas, and it's about a 2-hour drive. And so I'm sitting here thinking about that book, and I'm like, And so I see somebody, a homeless person on the street there. And normally I would have a reaction like, oh, that poor guy, I feel bad for him, maybe I should give him some money, And instead, I just did a beautiful blessing for him, that he was safe, that he was secure, that he found shelter and food for the night. And I just blessed him that way. I'm driving a little further along, and I see this truck with a trailer with four-wheelers on it. And I'm thinking, oh, these guys are going out into the desert. And so I did a blessing for their joy and safety in the experience that they were out there. And as I was driving along, someone cut me off, and I did a blessing for them instead of what I would have normally done. And I felt so different. It was like the most fun I'd had on a drive in a long time, was to sit, and as I was going through the drive, whatever I saw, whatever came across into my experience at that moment, I just simply did a blessing for it. And it was really, truly shifted that whole experience. The last practice that I think is so powerful that we can do is the practice of compassion. The Dalai Lama says it this way. He says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. It is such a powerful, powerful practice that we can do, the practice of compassion for others, and then self-compassion for our own experiences. Really can lead to a greater experience. I'm going to speak a little bit more later on this month about the practice of compassion and how using compassion as a response to our emotional situations can really bring about a shift in our lives. And so, it's one of those powerful, powerful things that we can begin to do. The author, Brené Brown, who's one of my favorite, puts it this way. In addition to creating happiness in our lives, cultivate the spiritual practices that lead to joyfulness, especially gratitude. We need to live from a place of gratitude and joy. If we want to bring more happiness into our lives, we need to cultivate the actions that are going to do that. Again, it's not about finding somebody outside of us that's going to solve our problems. It's about looking within ourselves and seeing where we can have a greater experience of compassion, where we can have a greater experience of gratitude, where we can bless more people, where we can find the joy, where we can sing and dance and be like that youthful, joyful, childlike experience that Ernest was talking about. Look for those times that we can do that, and I think we're going to have a greater experience of happiness. I know my days move pretty easily, and I credit almost all of that to my spiritual practices, through the things that I've learned here at Centers for Spiritual Living, through the principles that we practice, through the practices that we engage in, through the community that we've developed here. I think it's a wonderful expression of all of that unfolding. So let's go ahead and take this into prayer. It's been a bit of a challenge for me this morning, so I'm going to include in our prayer a little bit for the people in Buffalo too. So if you would, just turn within and take in a nice deep breath. And allow your shoulders to drop, your chest to expand, opening up that heart space. That's the place where I feel the connection with the divine. It is the place that I know that one power and presence emanates from, right at the heart of my being. I know it fills me, that it is living through me as me. I know that this one, all-pervading, all-inclusive, all-loving creative presence has brought forth everything into existence. Everything that has ever been, and everything that is yet to be. All a perfect emanation of the one. Endowed with that sense of joy and happiness and love. I know that there is a peace that permeates all of creation. It resides right at the heart of our being. I know that there is this incredible intelligence that is moving through each one of us. now and always. I know it keeps our hearts beating, our breath flowing, our cells in alignment. And so I know that I am one with that divine creator, with that loving intelligence, with that perfection and wholeness. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for each and every one of us. Where nothing exists outside of this one. It is the isness and the allness and the perfection of the universe. And so in complete realization of this power and this presence, I now speak my word. I know that right here and right now, that loving divine intelligence is moving through the lives of every single person that has been touched by the tragedy in Buffalo, New York. I know that that divine grace is manifesting itself throughout this entire experience, for everyone involved, for everyone that has heard this situation, for everyone. And I just rest quietly in that knowing. I know that this place of joy and peace and love and harmony is the very truth of who each one of us is, right here and right now. It's what we were created as, and it's what is moving through us. This infinite intelligence, fulfilling itself as each and every one of us. I'm so grateful to know this, so grateful to feel it, so grateful to see it operating in this community and in myself. And so I release this word into that law, to that infinite intelligence that knows no lack or limitation, that always says yes, unfolding itself perfectly. I let it be, and so it is. Amen.